zrňa války tu ščezlení, tu tirající si, je pogýnského grondu spolené. Pobůh, tam pobůh,
battle for Earth begins.
Anything else that might get in the way of our ideal must be destroyed immediately.
The ultimate enemy has arrived. Their single purpose, destroy our world.
I'm sure God would understand the steps we're taking.
Those who oppose them, die.
Let me repeat that. If this mission fails, if we are unsuccessful, we have no future. We've had enough!
Isn't it about time that people realize the ones posing the most threat are none other than yourselves?
This is not meaningless. This result is natural. What this is war. Commence destruction.
Now, these pirates will shake the foundations of the Alliance and change the course of history.
The attitude that's ticking people off.
If they can stay alive.
Those Gundam pilots are desperate. They'll battle even if it means forfeiting their lives. Mission accepted. Of course not.
Just like it is with the stars. There are bright ones and there are those that are dim.
Both sides prepare for the final battle. Suit up.
Nothing good can ever come from staying with normal people.
Be very careful.
Mankind has reached the stars.
There has to be some form of punishment.
Love the women that face when I speak. Those are the ones that love me.
Time out! Get set! And go.
But I'm surging with women. Hillary Clinton is a bigot. She would not be my first choice, that I can tell.
You think you'll be in jail?
Would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I'd approve.
And I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. Go home to mama.
This system is rigged.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I guarantee you there's no problem.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the I never heard that one before.
Circuitry and metal, cold and emotionless, carry out tasks without conscience. Robots, thousands, programmed for destruction. March towards the future is coming. Man's greatest inventions, making the impossible possible, are no longer under our control.
Technological strength will just become a threat to the Earth.
This new breed of technology makes humanity obsolete. Robots, thinking, acting on their own, begin their march toward domination. These machines, built by man, serve no one. The robots among us, watching, waiting, calculate their new world order. Their time is coming. They cannot be stopped.
Attention, strange weapons are approaching. Attention, strange weapons are approaching.
With perfect weapons and superior intelligence, robots rule this planet. Let the fall of mankind give way to a new age.
This little mud ball of a planet is doomed anyway.
Century 0079. The one-year war rages on. Spaceloids against Earth dwellers.
I'm gonna drive the Xeon forces right off here.
Zeke against Betty.
Not bad for a Betty, but I bet you're not ready for this! Commander!
As both sides prepare for the final battle.
Run for it!
The secret love of two enemies may be mankind's only hope for peace.
Feeling it, do you believe you can still fire at the enemy?
They're no better than they are.
You wanted to fight? Well,
again.
The right to dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before you.
You have to trust in your own power.
Whatever happens from now on, you stand firm and face your destiny without fear, but with courage.
What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose.
No one's gonna give you a map. You've got to walk your own path.
Children leave their homes in search of this quest.
What is thy desire?
As they search, they are always asking questions. What's out there? What's waiting for me?
Why was I made? Who made me? And what did they make me for?
Are you gonna go up into space with your old man or not? Maybe I'll never get over this. I've lived my life following my dreams, and I don't have any regrets.
You're gonna just keep running away?
Just keep running away? I'm not running.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't fear failure.
Excuse me, brah. You're excused.
I'm not your bra. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Controlled Substance. I'm your host, Orphan. We have some interesting stuff. Friday, baby. Let's go. Oh. Friday. We're going to talk about the Trump indictment tonight. Should be a good show. I was looking over my old edits, or the footage from this last week, and the music was pretty distracting. So until I fix my audio settings, I'm going to go without music right now. So you're stuck with my bassy, seductive voice and the gentle hiss of a spindrift popping in your ear. How are you guys? See, Iron, we've got Hitmonyeet, we've got the Liturgical Wife, the regulars. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys had a great week. Let's see if we can't dive into this and get a little more perspective on what is going on and what it means. First things first, if you guys want to super chat throughout the show, there's the link. I will be reading them at the end. If you have something burning that you want to say, if you have any nudes you want to send, anything of that sort, then that is the place to do it. Also, follow me. Got a link here. You guys already know what it is. The socials are right on screen. Sheesh kebabs. All right, let's get into it. First things first. For those of you that don't know, Trump has been indicted again in Florida this time. This is in regards to that raid on Mar-a-Lago where Trump had, quote-unquote, classified documents in his house. And apparently they're saying that he didn't have the authority to have those. There's a lot of political details and legal details here that I am not 100% caught up on. I've watched some shows on it. When the New York one happened, I did a little bit of research, but it's so in depth, and particularly when you're dealing with the DOJ persecuting a political candidate, there's a lot of fudging going on, and I don't know what's normal and what is not. What I do know is that it's unprecedented for a former president to be indicted in any form. This was the first time this happened ever, let alone the first time for it to happen twice. And Biden signed off on the Florida one. So Biden essentially gave the okay to go after a political opponent. And I thought that this whole thing is just another in the string of Trump persecution. We've seen it for the last 8 years. We've seen it over and over again that they will stop at nothing to get Trump in jail or get him to stop running. They need to stop him. He represents an existential threat to the system. And it can't be looked at through any other lens if you're paying attention. Because, like the right correctly points out, there are politicians doing all sorts of things like this. If you are in any level of power, things are so complicated that there will be something that you could get got for. This is what Tucker was talking about on a different scale when he was saying that white supremacy is so nebulous that they can pin it on anyone. You have a crime that you can attribute to anyone, and that's ultimate power. This is a similar situation. This has happened time and time again. This is commonplace for presidents to take documents, declassify them, because they're the president. The president's in charge of declassifying documents. Trump did this, but they're catching him on a technicality now because they don't want him to run. And we're seeing, I want to go over real quick. Well, first things first, check this out. We got a tweet here. Let me just turn on the music real low. It's weird not having a vibe going. Okay. Check out this tweet. So Republicans against Trump. Weird. First off, 425,000 followers. Holy shit. Called me an old-fashioned, but I think that anyone who stores top-secret nuclear weapon documents in their bathroom is unqualified to be president of the United States. I didn't realize this was a real photo. I thought this was just a meme going around, but Trump's just got a shit ton of boxes of documents in his guest bathroom. First off, Biden has documents in his garage right now, right next to his car. So your argument doesn't make any sense. Where do you keep boxes of? What do you want me to do with a bunch of boxes of papers? Because that's what they are. Hold up. Let me turn on this light. Hopefully you guys didn't get a big old plumber's crack right there. Maybe you did. What are you supposed to do with boxes of documents? Do you want me to put them on the mantelpiece? Do you want me to frame them each individually and set them up in a gala? Where do you keep boxes of documents that you're not currently reading? So, what a ridiculous tweet. The picture is really funny, though. And this is just so indicative of Trump. He's like, I'm going to take these nuclear secrets and then just put them in the bathroom. We have 7 of them. How many bathrooms does Mar-a-Lago have? That's what I want to know. $58 bedrooms, 33 bathrooms. No shot. Is that real? Dude, I am poor. I'm just poor. My guess was 7. It's like that Arrested Development episode. How much can a banana cost, Michael? $10? Except for that's with me in bathrooms. I guessed 7, and that was my high. That was like my high guess. I'm like 7 bathrooms would be crazy. 58 bedrooms, 33 bathrooms, a 29-foot long Pietra marble top dining table, 12 fireplaces, 3 bomb shelters. Oh, what? 3 bomb shelters? Is that in case you can't get across the entire property? There's like 1 in the middle, 1 on each side? That's wild. I had no idea that it was that big. Look at this gate, too. Oh, man. Okay, well, point made. Point made. He has about 20 more bathrooms that are not in use besides this one. I want to see what he's got in the other bathrooms, honestly. What's Trump hiding in all of his bathrooms? A little suspicious, if you ask me. A little suspicious. Okay, that being said, I thought that picture was funny. I found this article as well. It says, it's from Red State. While Kevin McCarthy condemns Trump indictment, Mitch McConnell remains conspicuously quiet. Following the news on Thursday evening of former President Donald Trump's indictment related to alleged mishandling of classified documents, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy issued a statement condemning the move in no uncertain terms. He said, "Today is indeed a dark day for the United States of America. It is unconscionable for a president to indict the leading candidate opposing him. Joe Biden kept classified documents for decades, and I read this whole thing. And every American who believes in the rule of law stand with President Trump against this grave injustice. House Republicans will hold this brazen weaponization of power accountable. I don't think he will, frankly. I think this is more posturing. But apparently, Mitch McConnell didn't even say anything. DeSantis even came out. The weaponization of the federal law enforcement represents a mortal threat to free society. We have for years witnessed an uneven application of the law depending on political affiliation. So why so zealous in pursuing Trump, yet so passive about Hillary or Hunter? The DeSantis administration will bring accountability to the DOJ, excise political bias, and end weaponization once and for all. So what I see going on here is they're all coming out with the nice statement. But what did these people do when the election was stolen? What did they do when it really matters? And it seems like these life Republicans only come out when it is completely convenient and won't make any difference. Remember when we talked the other day about YouTube reversing its election fraud policy? YouTube now allows people to talk about the election being stolen in 2020. So 3 years later, now it's okay. When it doesn't make any difference, everything's all settled, the dust is settled. Now it doesn't matter. This is the same thing with these Republicans. They will come out and support Trump whenever it doesn't make a difference. Whenever Trump needs their support, they're nowhere to be found. Time and time again. Additionally, all these people who are running against Trump are all the usual suspects. And it's kind of strange. I don't have a good history on how many Republican candidates there usually are. But it seems to me that there are a lot of Republicans running, despite knowing that Trump, if he's allowed to, will gain the Republican nomination. So check out this list of who's running. This is an article from Politico. The GOP 2024 field, how they win, how they lose. We're not going to read too much of the editorialization because Politico is kind of biased, to put it lightly. Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump. Obviously, these are the top guys, right? We have Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Trump's former vice president, ultimate Benedict Arnold. I hate him. Why is he even running? Everyone hates him. Because everyone loved Trump, and then he got dragged along, and then he just completely cucked. Ted Cruz ruled out, I guess. Ryan Binkley, Doug Burgum, Chris Christie, Larry Elder, Asa Hutchinson, Perry Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's actually been saying some cool stuff on Twitter. Surprisingly. Tim Scott, Mike Rogers, unlikely, Greg Abbott. So these are other people who could potentially run. I don't know what the field usually looks like, but if the Republican Party was loyal by any stretch of the imagination, there would be no other people running. I think it's obvious that Trump is the guy if the people had their way. This is what I mean. Well, this is what I mean by, like, there's really no democracy. The people have clearly thrown their support behind Trump. If people cared about what is good for the country, these people would all bow out immediately. This is why DeSantis running was such a slap in the face to Trump, because Trump did support him. He helped DeSantis win. DeSantis would not have won Florida without Trump. And DeSantis is aping Trump at every turn. They should all bow out. They should all make way and do what's right for the country. But they obviously have other more personal gains in mind. This is not about what's good for the country. This is about what's good for them and their political careers. Whether that means trying to kneecap Trump at every turn, only speaking out when it's convenient, or whether that means that they actually just attack him all the time, no matter what. You see both on the Republican side. I understand it's politics, but like we talk about all the time, like this is more than a political struggle now. This is a struggle for a nation. Jordan Peterson had a pretty funny tweet the other day. He says, "A Pence presidency would restore some normalcy. That could be a relief." And this is so ridiculous. Jordan Peterson has become so gay. What is normalcy? Let's unpack this a little bit. Because what Jordan Peterson is how a lot of boomers and a lot of non-political people think. They just want things to be, they want to be left alone. They want to go about their day. They want things to be normal. They want to live a life. But what does that look like these days? Because we're not talking about 1950s. We're not talking about any other time period except for 2023. So what does normalcy mean? Normalcy means that the regime is allowed to do whatever they like. The normalcy today means absolute gay victory. It means shadow government allowed to do whatever they want. It means runaway inflation. What is Jordan Peterson talking about here? He's talking about an ease of the conflict that's going on. But the reason there's conflict in the first place is because there's a battle going on. There's a cultural and political and moral battle going on. So we don't need normalcy right now. We need one side or the other to win. That's what will bring normalcy. So essentially what Jordan Peterson is talking about here is he's saying we need to stop this fight because it's uncomfortable and we need to let them have their way with us. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Jordan Peterson's such a cuck. What a cucked thing to say. You know, we need Mike Pence because he looks like a Republican, but he really will just turn things back to normal. Jordan Peterson, do you think things are good right now? This is the fundamental question. Do you think things are good right now? And is the problem that Trump is too divisive? That's not the problem. The problem is not that Trump is too divisive. The problem is that our country is run by satanic Jews. I'm just going to say it. The problem is that we have no morality in our culture. The problem is that the shadow government that makes all the decisions is completely fucking everyone over without any cost to themselves. These things all need to stop. And if that's not a battle worth fighting, I don't know what is. And if you're not going to help, if you're going to say we should just bow out and let Mike Pence win, you clearly either don't get it or you're too cozy at your Daily Wire job, raking in millions of dollars a year, to care about what real people think anymore. Either way, go fuck yourself, dude. So it's funny it's just laughable on the face of it. Oh, okay. Moving on. I want to get a little bit more into the reasons of why this is going on. We talk about it every once in a while, but what's going on here is an unprecedented persecution of a political candidate. Why is this? On a large scale, this is because Trump represents an existential threat to the system. Trump is the only reasonable chance we have at the system changing. He's independently wealthy. He's a Chad. He does what he wants. He says what he wants. He has threatened before to drain the swamp. He didn't do it because he was so heavily infiltrated in his first term. But the threat still is there. There is no other reason that he would be so vehemently attacked time after time after time for 8 years straight, not only during his run for the first presidency, his first term, but now 4 years after, when he's out of the White House. They are still berating him. This article is interesting. I found this today. The title up here is Rachel Maddow accidentally reveals the reason behind the latest Trump indictment. We knew it. Okay. And this is on Revolver. The important thing is down here. This is from Rachel Maddow on her show. It says, MSNBC host Rachel Maddow questioned whether the indictment of former President Donald Trump could be dropped in exchange for Trump dropping out of the 2024 presidential race and being banned from running again. Quote, you have to wonder if the Justice Department is considering whether there is some political solution to this criminal problem, said Maddow on Thursday's The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, citing the 1973 resignation of former Vice President Cipro Agnew following the news of Trump's indictment. Whether part of the issue here is not just that Trump has committed crimes, but that Trump has committed crimes and plans on being back in the White House. Do they consider, as part of a potential plea deal, something that would prescribe him from running for office again? I don't know. Host Lawrence O'Donnell responded, I would imagine if anything like that happened, that it would have come from the defense side of the negotiation. That the Trump team would say, oh, by the way, and with this, we also, drop out of the race for president. So that's a colloquial kind of wordy way to say that, but sorry, I got a message. But essentially what she's saying here is, are they just going after Trump? Are they just going after Trump to get him to drop out of the race? And obviously the answer is yes. This is what we've been talking about forever. They either want to put him in jail, make it legally impossible for him to run, or the least likely of the three is kill him. And if you're in charge right now, this is important to think about. If you're in charge right now, if you are someone who wants to maintain their power and wants Trump to stay as far away from the United States government as possible, then you're weighing two things. You're weighing, how do I make this happen? And on the other side, if I push too hard to make this happen, I'll create a martyr. Because Trump is famous enough. Trump is a household name. Trump is the most famous person in the world. Inarguably. So what happens if you push too hard? And he has an incredibly, loyal fan base. If you push too hard, you create more passion with his base. Particularly because he will not back down. You take it to its extreme. If you kill Donald Trump, if you assassinate Donald Trump, it's different than assassinating Kennedy. There was way, way more trust in the system back when Kennedy was president and got assassinated. That could be covered up. You cannot cover up, in the modern age, assassinating the most famous person in the world. And what happens when most people think that Donald Trump was killed by the powers that be? That creates a civil war immediately. And it's arguable that we are already heading for a civil war. and we'll get into that in a second. With Tuesday, the indictment is set to take place, and there's already rumors and buzz that there's a protest going on. It's going to be a crazy week next week, honestly. I'm a little nervous to see what happens, because whether or not they think they're being sneaky by continuing to attack him with false claim after false claim after false claim, his supporters realize what's happening, and they're so tired of it. I'm so tired of them trying to ruin Trump. Trump is trying to save America. They're trying to ruin him. So obviously they hate America. It's that simple. It's the people versus the power. So this is all self-evident. I'm just diving into it a little bit. And Rachel Maddow saying what we're all thinking is pretty rich. I like to see that. I like when they kind of slip up and say some common sense stuff on MSNBC or CNN, because their usual content is so flagrantly editorial and biased that every once in a while they'll go off the cuff a little bit and they'll say something that is actually makes sense, and you're like, oh yeah, well that's what I thought. All right. Continuing on here, we have a tweet from Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, attention all Trump supporters. If you want to rally in support of President Trump on Monday and Tuesday in Miami to protest the weaponization of the government, here are the details. So Monday, there will be a flag waving outside of the Trump National Doral. Doral? Man, I don't even think I've ever seen that word before. At the Trump sign on Northwest 87th Avenue in Miami. Be there in your Trump hats, shirts, flags, right? Tuesday, rally in support of President Trump outside the Wilkie D. Ferguson Courthouse, which I'm assuming is where he's going to be taken. So, allegedly, it's going to happen on Tuesday. And you already have Laura Loomer and I'm sure others organizing protests for this. I'm really trying to be careful here, because there's a balance. You need to balance here. And let me just change my lighting, because that's all the articles that I have before I get into it. Okay. There we go. So if you're going to protest the Trump indictment on Tuesday, it's very similar to January 6th. The circumstances leading up to it are very similar. Because if you remember correctly, there was buzz about a threat to security, domestic terrorism being a possibility. There were gates going up. There were Capitol Police. There was a broadcasting of what they expected to happen. And this is how the government operates. They prime the public by telling them they expect something could happen. And then so when it happens, they've set the pretext for that thing to be explained away. You see it with the Ukraine war a lot. The Ukraine war, the news coverage on Ukraine is always Russia's war criminals. They're bombing pregnant people. They're going to use chemical weapons. All of these things are to open the United States playbook for when they want to utilize those things. Now there's precedent set to blame it on Russia. And you see this with all these structural bombings. Ukraine is taking out Russian war supporters. They assassinated that one guy's daughter. I wish I remembered more details on it, but they are assassinating civilians. They are destroying infrastructure. They're basically trying to create a war of attrition. And all of this is preceded by either themselves or the United States forecasting that for the Russians. And then when it happens, they blame it on the Russians, whether or not it makes sense. It usually does not make sense. Why would Russia blow up the Nord Stream pipeline? It doesn't make any sense. That's clearly the United States and Ukraine. But they do this politically too, and this is a very common tactic in propaganda. Is you lay down the foundations for something that you want to do before you do it under a different context. Then you point to that context and it explains it away. So with January 6th, we saw a week of coverage leading up to January 6th saying, we're expecting things to get violent. We're expecting this. We're expecting an insurrection. We're expecting all of these things so that when something does happen, usually brought on by themselves, then they explain it away as what they said previously. So pay attention to what the mainstream media says about Tuesday's indictment. Pay attention to how they're framing this story, because it will tell you a lot about what will happen. This happened with the 2020 election too. If you guys remember correctly, there was a lot of forecasting about a red wave, and then the mail-in ballots coming, and then things going wildly for Biden. Do you guys remember that? Almost every mainstream news was saying, yeah, but we got to wait and see about the mail-in ballots because Biden's gonna win all of those, and it's gonna overtake Trump. It's gonna look like Trump is winning, but hey, don't pay attention to it. Trump's gonna look like he won the election by a landslide, but don't pay attention to it, because after we're done fucking with it, then he won't have won. And they prime this. They prime it over and over again. So when it happens, they have something to point to, right? It's just a pattern. It's how propaganda works. So pay very close attention to mainstream media. Pay close attention on anyone with a position of power, how they're speaking about this, because it will be very indicative to show what will happen. I am not surprised. I don't want anything to happen, but I am predicting that there will be a nebulous false flag on Tuesday as well. This seems to be their playbook lately. And by lately, I mean the past few years, is instigate something, infiltrate something with feds, make it look like white supremacy or whatever they want to tag it with. MAGA Republicans is like the Joe Biden thing, right? Which on its own is crazy. MAGA Republicans. So you mean over half the country? Is that who's domestic terrorists are over half the country now? That doesn't make any sense. Unless any conservative is an enemy of the country, and then it makes perfect sense, because that is exactly what he's talking about. Saying anyone that doesn't believe in our legitimate power is a domestic terrorist. And that's so dangerous. I'm really nervous, not only for the lead up to the 2024 election, but the trajectory of our country, because if you look at history, this happens over and over again. The government gets corrupt, it gets out of control, and then what happens? People start getting sent to gulags. People like me, anyone who dissents openly, gets sent to jail for one reason or another. And eventually things break down to the point where millions of people die for whatever reason. Whether it's World War II, whether it's the Holodomor, whether, there are countless atrocities you can point to, and they're all within the same archetypical cycle of history. So what I want to happen is I want things to turn around before that point. I think everyone does. Everyone except for the people who are trying to contain everyone under their thumb. But there's a balance between protesting for what you think is right and knowing that it will be used for a psyop, that it will be used for a false flag. If there is a sufficient showing out on Tuesday for Trump's indictment, if there's a sufficient showing out on Tuesday, there will be agitators. It's the perfect time to do it. And it's probably a benefit of even having this indictment in the first place. Things work on multiple levels. It's you indict him and you just are winning. So either it gets thrown out because it's ridiculous and no harm lost because it gets completely ignored by all of the media outlets we own. Or Trump goes to jail. Great for them. Or there's a giant protest and the people get upset and then we can make a false flag. It's just a win-win-win. When you control the system, you just win, man. It's amazing how much power you have when you control the federal government and the judicial system. It's amazing how everything seems to just work out in your favor. So these are the dangers. This is what's happening right now. We're going to keep an eye on it. I guarantee we'll be talking about it in some capacity on Monday and Tuesday. I pray that nothing happens. I pray that nobody dies, nobody gets hurt. There is no false flag, but unfortunately, based on how things go, how things have gone in the past, it smells like trouble. And I'll just leave it at that. So if anyone watching this is planning to go, if anyone is planning to be in the vicinity or promote it, be very, very, very careful. Because if you are with the loose litigation that we're seeing from our current government, if that continues, I wouldn't be surprised if you are sending out or calling people to go and protest, and then something crazy happens. I think that you could likely get caught up in a shitstorm. So, is it worth it to go and protest this? I don't know. It makes me nervous. It makes me nervous, though. So, be careful. Everyone be careful. Be careful and keep the light on it. Everything has to be filmed personally. And I hope this is one takeaway from January 6th. Film it all and upload things to the cloud. It's so unfortunate that the footage is stuck. It's stuck in political limbo from January 6th, because if all of that footage was released, you would know what actually happened. The fact that they need to hide it at all shows you there's something to hide. So, anyways, this is the Trump indictment. This is the entire story here. It's going to be a short one. I'm just going to call it a day now. That was the show for tonight. Casual Friday, hanging out, talking about Trump. If he gets a mugshot, I hope he gets a mugshot. He didn't for New York, but that shit's going to go hard. Talk about making a martyr. Imagine Trump in a Trump mugshot. Just imagine it. It'd be awesome. Okay, guys. Thank you all for being here. Let me check and see if I have any super chats real quick. Check out that link if you do want to super chat. You got about 5 seconds before I go. About 5 seconds. Do. Okay. It is looking like we do not have any to approve. That is okay. Check Telegram. See if we got anything on there. Nope. We're good to go. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's been a fun one. Lots of good content this week. I'm going to start clipping it up, but appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you on Monday, 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. Catch you then. Later.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.